Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Strategies to Sustain a Profitable Black-Owned Business Owner. We're featuring a panel of experts who will discuss about business challenges and tips how to move forward with the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. This webinar is brought to you by the Small Business Development Center at the College of New Jersey in partnership with Mercer County Office of Economic Development and the Capital Regional Minority Chamber of Commerce. My name is Lilian Mauro. I am the Regional Director for Small Business Development Center at the College of New Jersey, and we are part of a network of more than 1,000 centers nationwide. 12 of them are in the state of New Jersey, and we cover Mercer County with these 12 municipalities. The SBDC offers one-to-one counseling to existing businesses and startups. We also offer training for a low cost or no fees throughout the year. To request counseling, please contact or visit our website at www.sbdcnj.com. All these services are supported to you by the Small Business Administration, the State of New Jersey, our host institution, the College of New Jersey, the Mercer County Office of Economic Development, Lockers University, RBAC, Regional Business Assistant Corporation, and also we have a new partner this year, UCEDC, who provide microloans. And today, let me introduce you to Herb Ames, the President and Chairman of Capital Regional Minority Chamber of Commerce, who are joining us in this webinar. Welcome, Herb, to this webinar.
Thank you, Lilian. It's a great pleasure to be here and be part of the webinar that the SBDC is putting on. First, let me thank Shakira for putting together an esteemed panel. Let me thank one of my strong board members, Greg Johnson, for being a part of this. And you having Mercer County, the Office of Economic Development and Sustainability is just an awesome way to give businesses and people a lot of information. Just so everyone knows, this chamber is here for you. I happen to be the president and chairman of this great chamber, but we are here for you. We want to help and see businesses grow, help businesses get to the next level, answer your questions, especially in these times. So we are here. We have a lot of relationships that we can help you out with. We'd love for people and businesses to be members, but even if you're not a member, we are here to help. So please feel free to reach out to us, but we are just happy to be part of this seminar, and hopefully we can answer an awful lot of questions. And if we don't have the answer, we will get them for you. So thank you very much. Thank you, Lilian, for including us.
Thank you, Art, for joining us. It's always happy to work with you. And let me introduce you to Anthony Carabelli, Director of Mercer County Office of Economic Development, who is a great supporter. And also, thanks to the county, we do have the Spanish program as well. Good morning, Anthony. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Lilian. And I want to first a warm welcome to all those that are in attendance today. I know it's and our esteemed panel that's here before us with some great information and knowledge that they'll be helping to contribute to the discussion today. I know this is, we're in a different world right now with some challenging times, especially as it pertains to business outreach, especially through our Office of Economic Development. We utilize the chamber, Herb's group, or Princeton Mercer Chamber, to get the word out on some of the programs and initiatives that exist directly from our office, but may not be specifically programs that we run, but that we have knowledge of and can get that out to the greater community. So there are some challenges, but we can get around some of those challenges with the webinars that we have here today. And hopefully we can have those face-to-face meetings and discussions and events sooner rather than later. Just to give a brief overview, I don't want to take too much time, of some of our county programs and initiatives. We obviously have a strong partnership with the Small Business Development Center. We have an English and Spanish speaking program. They host a ton of events and programs for us, now mostly virtual. Lilian also mentioned the partnership with UCEDC. The county in March of this year initiated a micro lending program through the UCDC, and we call that now the Mercer County Business Lending Program, which offers specific loans to our business community here in Mercer County at generous interest rates, lower interest rates, and we're anxious, and they're doing tremendous work already in our community. We also have site selection service, so if you're looking for space or relocating in Mercer County, we can offer that through our Office of Economic Development. Business Trade Name Certificate Program, that's an opportunity for opening up a business checking account. It's normally a required document that your business will need to have when opening up a business checking account here in Mercer County. I can talk to you about that directly, or my business advocate, Darren Stewart. In addition, we have a one-stop career center, which is an entity that falls under Office of Economic Development. They run one particular program that I like to highlight. It's just the on-the-job training assistance program. This is grant money that could be expended on a new employee that you hire, and it could be a great resource for you for the first 6 months that they're on board. So contact our office once again for information on that. And my last one that I just wanted to mention is the Set Aside program. This was a new initiative in 2019. There's information on the website. If it's up, Shakira, can I put it on the chat, the information, a link? Okay. Yes. I'll do is I'll provide a link to the Set Aside program, which provides information through a 2019 initiative that looked to emphasize women, minority, veteran owned businesses, small businesses here in Mercer County. We're looking to buy and purchase products and services that you may have as a business here in Mercer County. So it's a great initiative. I'll provide a link in the chat box for that information. So thank you all, and I want to pass it back on to, here's my contact information along with Darren Stewart's. I'm going to pass it back over to Lilian to get into the program.
Thank you, Anthony. And now let me introduce to Shakira Brown. She's a subject matter professional speaker, business marketing coach, and founder and CEO of SMB Strategic Media LLC. And also she's our wonderful SBDC consultant here at the Small Business Development Center at the College of New Jersey. And thank you for putting all this together and contact all the panelists, and welcome Shakira Brown.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. This is going to be a jam-packed combo with some amazing subject matter experts. And again, my name is Shakira Brown, and we have our panel featuring, I'm going to let them all introduce themselves. So I'm going to give a brief intro for them and then allow them to speak. Kanita Bullock, she is the founder of Master Plan Investment Group. She is a certified financial planner. She has amazing letters after her name, which I'll let you tell. I'll let her tell you about it. We have Esther Tanez, who is founder and owner of Esther Insurance, specializing in personal and commercial insurance lines. Robert C. Barnett, CPA. He has 20 years of financial services experience, including accounting and tax. And Gregory G. Johnson, Esquire. He is a partner and owner of a minority business law firm and is practicing law both in New Jersey and PA for over 30 years. And he is going to tell us about himself as well. I am now going to stop sharing. So give me a second here. I don't want to mess that up. So we can focus in on the faces of everyone involved. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to begin with the ladies. Let's start with Kanita. Give me just a couple of minutes about what you do, who you are, to give the audience a sense of the subject matter that you're able to specialize in.
Wonderful. Well, hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Kanita Bullock. As Shakira has mentioned, I'm a certified financial planner, and I'm local. I'm right in Pennington, New Jersey, born and raised in New Jersey, proud Jersey girl. But most importantly, I'm here because I care deeply and work specifically with business owners to make sure not only that their business thrives, but that their family and their life is as they envision it to be. So in our local Pennington office, we work on personal wealth management and retirement plans for business owners. And the marriage between the two is really helpful in that we're able to navigate what are the demands that you have as a family, what are the demands that you have to recognize as you provide for your loved ones, but also the passion and drive that you have for your business. So we definitely understand, and I understand as a business owner myself, how the tug and the pull works. But most importantly, being planful, having a strategy, and having a network of credible, knowledgeable people that you can trust around you really sets your yourself and your business up for success.
Thank you
Happy
so
to
much.
be here with you all.
Thank you so much, Kanita. And now, Esther, please tell everyone about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Esther Tanis. I own 2 insurance agencies, one in Bloomfield, New Jersey, the other one in Princeton. I've been in the industry for 32 years, almost 33 already. Time flies by. I started my business at a very difficult time, and today I have the opportunity to share. It was about 21 years ago. I was recently getting separated and I had 2 kids, beautiful home, everything was wonderful, and only $10 to my name. So I had to make a decision to start a business, and we'll share a little bit of that story later on. So I know what it is to build a business from ground up with very little money, and thank God for the support of the family. We specialize in personal and commercial insurance. I love working with small businesses because I know what you go through when you're starting and you're building and thinking of ideas and excited and depressed and the whole up and down. I know all of it. So, and all the mistakes that we make. So I will share with you not only about insurance, but also the journey of being in business and all the ups and downs that you go through. Our team, we have 9 employees, some working out of their homes, some working out of location. It has been a shift with the pandemic, but we pulled through, and can't wait to share all of my story and hear your questions. And I can't wait to be part of the team. We're an excellent team that can provide really great information. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in a second.
Thanks, Esther. And Robert Barnett, just give us a brief intro to who you are, what you've been working on all these years.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the invitation again. And I've been a CPA over 20 years. I'm leveraging my corporate experience, now working with individual small business owners, tax planning, consultation, tax resolution, small business advisory, financial compilations and reviews. My background, I went to NYU, majored in accounting and management. At the time, it was the big 8 accounting firms. Interviewed with all 8 and received offers from 7 of the 8. So I started with Price Waterhouse in New York. That laid a great foundation, getting to know the various corporations. 5 years there. MetLife, before you see their names on all the buildings, I started with MetLife in financial reporting and analysis. And they were the largest mutual insurance company to convert to a stock company in the 90s. I was on 5 committees during that time, so it gave me great experience as well. I elevated from senior to manager to director, and also did some consulting in the Wall Street area, New Jersey, and so forth. About 4 years ago, I decided to go full-time into my own business with firm as well. So leveraging that experience. Just 2 weeks ago, I was able to work with a surgeon who started an art gallery, had some issues with the IRS, and I was able to at least have them conceptually agree to $100,000 reduction. You should pay your fair share in taxes, but sometimes you run into experiences. So that's one, and I'll share a few other experiences as well, where I worked as an advisor to some other businesses.
Thank you, Robert. And Gregory G. Johnson, let's hear your story briefly for a couple of minutes.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I want to thank Shakira and her organization for presenting this webinar for our minority women-owned businesses in Mercer County. I'm an attorney that's been practicing over 30 years. I started out practicing law representing school districts back in the 1980s. About 8 years ago, I became a partner at Wong Fleming in Princeton, a national women-owned law firm that represented a lot of Fortune 500 companies. As a partner, I primarily handled Ford Motor Credit cases in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, sometimes down in Maryland. So based upon my 30 years of practice experience, I've learned how to effectively represent clients, whether there are large corporations with billion-dollar operations, and small, medium-sized firms. As a attorney practicing in my practice today, I primarily represent women and minority-owned businesses in real estate primarily. A lot of my clients are the over 50 crowd who have raised their kids, who have gotten to the point where they are retiring and they're looking at a second career, and they gravitate towards real estate because it's something that's easy to get into, and they are able to build their wealth from there.
I'm going to start with a question about what's going on right now with the pandemic. I'm curious to know, what is the mindset of small business owners that you're interfacing with today as we go through the pandemic? I'm going to start with Kenita to find out exactly what she's been seeing in her space with some of the small business owners that she's interfacing with during the pandemic.
That's a great question. Many of the business owners that I'm working with initially just were overwhelmed. No one knew what the pandemic meant, what it was going to mean for their family, their personal lives, their businesses. And I've seen a shift of more knowledge being provided, and then now families and business owners are trying to realize, how do we pivot from being concerned to making this an opportunity? So what I often hear is, Kenita, how do we organize ourselves? How do we take advantage of grants and funds that we don't have to repay? But I always revert back to, how do you find the right information? So I often, I have a list actually of organizations that business owners should sign up for their newsletters, alerts, so that they, number one, receive the information firsthand. And then from there, we have a council put together, whether it's their legal advisor, their tax advisor, and their financial advisor, on how do you take advantage of this and make it last. So there's always I use the term quarterback, where there are many sources of information, many professionals that are involved, but I work with clients as a quarterback to feel that, number one, they're covered. They don't have to do it on their own, but most importantly, if they're not getting the information, we're giving it to them. So again, first being overwhelmed, then realizing the dust settled, it's now time to be proactive. And we provide that counsel to make sure that they're going to thrive beyond this stage.
I'm curious, in your space, Esther, with regard, I know you're in the insurance space, but I know you touch on other things. I know your company also does bookkeeping and things like that. What are you seeing as it relates to how small businesses are feeling, their mindset during this time?
Well, Kenita's right. In the beginning, people were a little bit, concerned or a little bit overwhelmed, right? But we have two businesses, so I've been registering businesses left and right. Okay. Everyone is going into the construction or the cleaning services. So we take care of registering the business and then insuring it. For those that are in the restaurant that are our clients, are becoming very creative by creating box of food, or the curbside that is becoming very popular. Actually, a restaurant owner shared with me that the curbside is actually working better because he has a smaller staff. So the overhead is not as big, and they're becoming very efficient. I think there's been a shift into positivity. There is a creativity, getting out of the box. People are increasing some of the coverages. People that didn't have insurance in their businesses are now calling because they were afraid of, oh my God, what's going to happen during this time. So insurance has increased. In the beginning, it dropped, and then all of a sudden it has increased. So I see energy and positivity.
It's good to hear that businesses, entrepreneurs are now moving forward with new businesses and registering and doing things like that. Robert, are you seeing people who are looking to expand a business or start a business during the pandemic as well?
To some extent, but I see more of the ones who have been in business for the most part with the grants. And like they said in the beginning, you see the uncertainty. What I did was I did some research, and I sent to all my clients a listing of the various programs available and the options. And example, two of my top clients I work with in getting the EIDL and the PPP. So those who reach out to me, I was able to guide them through it. And fortunately, they were able to get it as well. We know the challenges African Americans face, and we have to recognize the obstacles. But in these examples, they were prepared ahead of time, and that's one thing I work with them on preparing. So I don't see too many small businesses starting up now. But fortunately, one of my clients got a good contract at the beginning in March as well, when this was just starting. So it was just good timing from that perspective.
That's good. And Gregory, I know that you're in the community a lot as well, but are you seeing anything in particular on the legal side with people dealing with, you're in real estate, the leases, people dealing with renegotiating leases who couldn't occupy their space? Is there anything on that you want to touch upon as it relates to the pandemic? Because we've had clients call our center, the SBDC at the College of New Jersey, to talk about renegotiating lease and things like that. Is there anything that you've seen with that?
Yes, I've counseled a number of clients concerning what their legal liabilities are with respect to maintaining leases in light of COVID-19 and the reduction in the level of business that they were experiencing. And we always start from a standpoint of where they are in their business and what their plan is. Some have determined that because of the significant reduction in business that they had to terminate their leases and sort of consolidate and change or restructure their business operations. And a few, not many, have even thought about the prospect of filing bankruptcy because they could not operate their businesses under the strictures of COVID-19 and the limited, operations in restaurants and I guess indoor type of operations. But generally speaking, many of the businesses that have been in operations, I think, are going to tough it out during this situation. And they basically decided that, hey, I may have to reduce staff and I may have to shed some offices. But we're going to try to hang in there. And as Robert has indicated, PPP funding and other resources that were available at the beginning of the year and in March, those funds are starting to wind down. And now these businesses are determining how they're going to proceed. But many of them are going to stay in business, which is a good thing.
That's a really good thing. I do have a question regarding your recommendations, maybe one from each of you, if you can squeeze it in quickly, on what small businesses can do before the end of the year to make their businesses stronger. And I'm going to start with Esther.
Oh, okay. So I'm not going to speak as an insurance agent. I'm going to talk about as a business owner. One of the shifts, if anybody remembers 2008, remember that? The crash of painful. Every time I say it, my heart beats. One of the things that I was advised by someone was to make sure that my infrastructure was strong. And what that means is really building processes in place. I have found that as soon as I did that, knowing exactly, when are your strong days, when are your weak days, how many employees, exactly what each employee is supposed to do, and employees are successful when you do give them specifically what the expectations are, and building processes for the business from when the client calls or comes in to closing of the deal, and then supporting that account. If you can put it into a structure, you will survive almost any up and down, because it would be so clear cut, that vision of, and it's like the foundation of your business. And the best book for this is The E-Myth by Mike Gerber.
Yes.
Mike Gerber goes over it so detailed. So I would say, if your business is not structured, in other words, when a client calls and it's all fluster, you don't know what's next, and you're jumping all over the place, and you don't have your business really tied up, I would start there, because the foundation needs to be strong. And I know I have to keep it short, so I'm going to keep it short. But Mike Gerber with the E-Myth.
We recommend that to our clients at the center all the time, especially new entrepreneurs, people who've never owned a business before. It's really a great book to read. And by the way, if you have a Mercer County library card, you can get the book or the audio book, of course, through the library system in Mercer County at no charge, of course, if you have a library card. So get one of those.
Had I not done that whole restructuring, because if you would have asked me in 2006, 2007, Esther, is everything okay? I would have said, of course, I have 15 employees, 2 locations. No, there was no way to track. There was no way to measure. I didn't really know exactly how many clients, who came in, what days. All of that tracking helped me survive the 2008. Listen, an expert came into my office and said to me, you got a year before you're done.
Nobody wants to hear that.
No.
Robert, when it comes to that type of tracking and processes, what are recommendations that you have that you've seen that small business owners are deficient in certain areas, but what can they do right now before the end of the year to kind of position themselves better for the next big, terrible thing that happens? And I hope it doesn't happen anytime soon.
Yeah, so I'd say, again, with such an unusual year, you definitely want to consult with an advisor as well. But certain things you want to consider from, let's say, a tax perspective. There's the qualified business income, which went into effect about 2 years ago. That's a significant 20% reduction where you can lower your taxes, but there's certain criteria around that. That's one thing you want to look at. The CARES Act, that was just implemented this year because of COVID-19. In the CARES Act, they have, if you experience as a business owner a loss for either 2018, 19, or 20, you can take that loss and go back 5 years, apply to your returns, and get a refund. So these are things that you want to be aware of. If you do it on your own, you can make mistakes. You want to consult a professional like myself as well. You want to look at, again, financial advisor is here, the relevant retirement benefits.
Oh, we're gonna get to Kanita next.
Sure. So those are some things, but the bottom line is, it's an unusual year. You don't want to wait till 2021 when you do your taxes or accounting. You want to set things up now. Financial readiness. You want to be in place to take advantage of the opportunities out there as well.
Kanita, I know that you have seen a lot in your career, but this year people probably revealed some serious financial quagmires as part of this. You know, what are some of the things that people can do to correct some of the mistakes they've made or bad decisions they've made financially from a personal perspective, because that obviously impacts the business, and a business perspective. You can give us a couple of tidbits there.
Sure. So I would also think about the comments Esther made. If you think about 2008, during times of crisis, there are opportunities. Number one, you're not the only one that is now in a very unique situation where their finances are not in order. So you have to take advantage of that and say, this is the time to correct what I had been pushing on the back burner and reprioritize. And everyone is in the same boat. So don't feel, oh, it's just me, or I should be in a better position. So what I'm recommending clients do is take action, organize their personal finances, and be honest. You're only going to hurt yourself and your family if you're not being honest with debt that you haven't addressed or payments that are late or behind. This is a time of reorganization, and it's unique because I've worked with clients, had phone calls jointly with them to restructure debt payments, to defer payments, to allow individuals to skip payments. So this is a unique time to really build savings that had not been able to be built before, but really reprioritize, how do I make myself stronger in the next stage, and utilize this time to, like Gregory mentioned, do we need to consider consolidation or bankruptcy to clean up my finances? But most importantly, it's starting with honesty and not just burying your head in the sand, as they say, thinking it'll go away, because it won't. In 2008, I was working with a corporation, an investment firm in California, and all of the business leaders had said, we use times of crisis to address issues that were not put in the limelight during good times. So everyone has skeletons or things they don't want to address. You have to address them now. And if you don't, you'll see the businesses that did in the next year, and they will flourish. You know, the fact that people are opening new businesses means that there are resources out there. So don't get discouraged, but really make you know, you do your financial vision in the beginning of the year. Do it again this summer. You know, you should actually say, this is my vision board for the remainder of 2020, and you can put it in action because we all are in the same boat.
Great advice on that.
Thanks.
I agree with that, absolutely, because and also it will encourage people, give you something to look forward to, and we all need that during these times. And Gregory, what are you seeing on the folks should do on the legal side of things, where they may have decided not to do something yet, but they found that maybe during this pandemic that they should have done something on the legal side that they've kind of pushed to the side or said they'd do later? What's that thing they should do before the end of the year?
Right. I agree with my colleagues. This is a time for an assessment of their business operations to determine what they want to be over the course of the next few months, over the next year. What I've found is that my clients that have been in business for a number of years, they're looking at this downturn in the economy as an opportunity to build wealth and acquire properties. Real estate is the hottest area right now. I can't, handle any more closings. We're pushing.
Good problem to have, Gregory.
Yes, my clients, we regularly push our title companies to get the title report in, and basically we're trying to speed up the calendar. But we do have some clients, as Kanita has indicated, that may have to make a decision as to what they want to do over the course of the next few years or over the next few months, because as has been discussed, when the PPP money winds down, by September, then they're looking at, hey, can I make my office rent obligations over the course of the next few months when business has declined, so forth. So I help them as a counselor and as an advocate make the best decisions, but they have to come to the table willing to decide hard questions now that will eventually help them as we move ahead. But it's when you look at the legal issues that they face, they're not the complicated legal issues. They're mainly, how do I deal with this lease situation? How do I talk to my landlord to get some type of leeway as to how we're going to go forward? Sure.
And I'm going to add, from a branding and marketing perspective, since I could do that, that's what I do. A lot of my counseling with the center is that we have a captive audience of people who really aren't doing too much other than work and just hanging out at home. It's a great time to get your thought leadership out there. Start recording those videos that you said you were going to do 2 years ago that you never did, and start posting them on LinkedIn, post them on Instagram. There's a captive audience. There are people who have now gotten major contracts. There is that young woman, Sarah Cooper. Have everybody seen her? She did the TikTok video where she was doing a voiceover. No, she wasn't doing voiceover. It was lip syncing to President Trump. She has now got like a development deal, and she was doing that on TikTok. Okay, so it is time for you to focus in on some of the marketing things that you said you didn't have time for, which you may have time for now, especially as it relates to video and sharing your knowledge via social media using video. It's a great medium to use, and I advise everybody to just get something out there, even if you do one a month, but you have a captive audience. So that's a good, and that's for everybody on the panel too. You all should be, I don't have to tell Esther. I don't know about Kanita and Robert and Gregor, but Esther is the queen of using video. But everybody else, I'm sorry if I don't know, but if I don't, that means you're not doing enough. Use video. Okay, so let's move into some long-term strategies. We talked about some near-term things. I'm going to go to Esther and talk about an insurance specific thing, and then we'll go to everybody else, and I'll ask you something specific or allow you to volunteer. Workers' comp, people don't understand how it works. Do you need one if you don't have employees? Do you need that type of policy if you don't have employees or not? Is that something folks should be looking at if they have a couple extra bucks lying around? Is that something they need to be looking at long term to have, and why, whether they're a solopreneur or they have staff?
So I would say that if you don't have those extra money, you definitely need a workers' comp. And I'm going to say, why. Yeah,
Okay.
because workers' comp is it's the marriage of three different areas that normally don't combine. The first one is loss of income. So at a time that you lost your income due to an accident at work or on your way to work or anything that happened at work, you will get you will make 60% of your income after 6 weeks. That's the rule. That's the state rule. That's one part. The second part is all of your medical with no co-insurance, no co-payments, no deductibles. So if you have an accident, all of your medical bills, if you need from your ambulance to your, being in the hospital, to surgeries, through physical therapy, whatever you need due to that incident, it is completely 100% covered. So it's not health insurance, but it is things that happen going to work. Now, for us that are in the office, our chances are less. But for those that are in the restaurants and carpentry, construction, roofers, boy, they're there all the time. They're always getting hurt. And then the third part is if something happens to you, if you have a life insurance policy that your family will receive, it's not going to be, unless you buy the $1 million coverage, but if you buy at least $100,000 one, your family receives that due to a loss, if you're no longer with us. So it is three policies in one. Now, yes, the state of New Jersey says that if you're an LLC, you do not need to have a workers' comp. But if you signed a contract as an LLC, like a roofer or a carpenter or something like that, and you signed a contract to be working under someone, their requirement is to make sure that you have workers' compensation, because the minute you are a subcontractor, if you don't have your workers' comp, that company, you become an employee per se, because they're going to be charged the workers' comp for you. So you definitely need workers' compensation. I understand that it is expensive for some of the fields. For people that are in the office, it's very inexpensive. For people that are in sales or in consulting, it's very inexpensive. But for those that are in more high risk, it's going to be more expensive. But my friend, where are you going to get all your medical expenses paid plus 60% of your income sent to your home so you can continue to support your family and carry those overheads that you normally, if you don't have extra money, you don't, right? You're not covered. You don't have it. So workers' compensation is the most inexpensive way to go to have that kind of coverage. The three main: life, health, and finance, my friend, this is there's nothing to think.
The trifecta.
Yeah. And yeah, even if it's expensive, you can never afford, especially my roofers, for whatever reason, they just love to fall off the roof, or siding.
That's what they do.
And their injuries are severe and their expenses are high. They have their home and their families and their children. You don't want to be without insurance. A lot of owners say to me, the number one mistake in workers' comp, the owner says, "Oh, I don't need to be covered." Okay. So you're not going to go up on the roof. You're not going to hammer. You know how many people are hammering and that nail comes the opposite and hits their eye? I have landscapers with their hands burnt and their faces and no workers' comp.
Oh my goodness. Kanita, what about you? Long-term strategies from a financial, and I would say personal financial perspective, because that, again, I think that gets lost when you become an entrepreneur. We have that built-in sort of cushion. When you work for somebody else, you have a 401k, perhaps a pension if you're lucky, but not so much with when you own your own business. So why don't you give some advice on maybe some things that folks should do to set themselves up better financially for the long term?
And that's a really important question. We all live in the now. We are faced with bills, responsibilities, but if we don't think about the long term, they say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I had a conversation with a business owner. She's owns her own therapy group or practice, and we were talking about 401ks and matching opportunities. So many people don't know that with all of the pandemic legislation that's provided, you're able to provide a match from your 401k or organizational retirement plan using some of those federal dollars. So that means you don't necessarily have to match from your corporation's or your organizational income. So there are unique opportunities, as I say, in times of crisis, you really have to dig for good information that you're able to provide additional income for yourself and your employees. So if you don't have a plan, or if you're an LLC or sole proprietor, you can still have a solo 401k or an individual 401k. And that means you may say, I'm going to work until I no longer can, and that's okay. But if something down the line, a family change makes you want to stop working, you should have had a plan. So I always say, you may not use this 401k, but someone will. So we really need to get you to begin saving and starting to think about a retirement plan. So as business owners and entrepreneurs, we're wired differently. I understand that. But I always encourage clients to say succession planning is something we are talking about as soon as you start the firm, because how you set up your organization impacts how you may split shares or sell percentages of ownership. So all of that is what I encourage clients to think about as they're forming a business. And it's okay if you didn't, you can always update or change your structure.
Not too
but
late.
we're thinking big. It's not just one-stop shop for the duration of your business life. I really encourage clients to think big and really plan financially in the beginning, or start where you are. It's never too late, but we're trying to make sure we're using the resources available to propel clients to move forward and have great, strong businesses down the line.
Gregory, I saw you shaking your head when she mentioned succession planning and things like that. Is there something along those lines that you want to share as far as from a legal perspective of long-term planning for a business owner?
Absolutely. Kanita is right on point. When I meet with clients who are looking to start their companies, their business, I always talk with them about the number of entities that they can form. And in my handout today, I talk about business formation decisions, from selecting the name of their business to what type of business, corporation, incorporated, LL, limited liability. And we also talk about things that they can do now that will help them in the long run. For instance, when I prepare or register a business, I make sure that in the initial certificate of formation, I put something in there about a succession plan. It's very easy. A lot of my clients are sole members of LLCs, so I will put in there several provisions as to what happens if they become disabled, what happens if they happen to pass away, and we try to put in there who would be number two. If they're successful in really growing their business and they want to go to a bank and get financing, what I found out about a lot of minority businesses is that they're self-funded initially as they start out. Some are relying upon 401k funds, as Kanita may know, but that generally speaking, they are self-funded. And getting a small business loan is not as easy as people think, because you have a loan officer has to believe in your business, and it has to go through the chain of whatever decision-making apparatus that the bank have. But the one point I tell clients when they're starting out is banks will not loan money to a sole member LLC if they don't have a incumbency plan as to who's going to be number two if something happens to you. Banks are going to hedge their risks, right? They're going to make sure they know who number two is, because number two may have to write that check to repay the loan. So, generally speaking, so those are some of the things that I tell clients from the initial consultation with them to forming the actual entity that they want to operate.
Before I go to you, Robert, I just want to tell the audience now's a good time to submit your questions in the question box or in the chat box so we can get to them before we wrap up in a few minutes. Robert, what are some of the things that you are recommending for business owners to do for the long-term financial plan of their business? What are some of those things?
Okay, I would say you want to start off, first of all, making sure you have a strong foundation, a solid foundation. So from an accounting, you want to make sure a good system is in place. And from a tax perspective, there is the short-term, mid-term, long-term.
I'm going to go back. You said a good system. What do you mean by a good system in place? We need to be a little bit more detailed. Are we talking about bookkeeping? What are we talking about?
Yeah, if you talk about from an accounting perspective, you want to have, as a business owner, a good record-keeping system, whether it's QuickBooks or so as well. As a business owner, you may do it initially, but you want to move away from that. You want to rely on professionals. It's not just a bookkeeper, but somebody keeping your books, but also meeting with you to see how the financials could help enhance your business as well. So there is the accounting side. In my position, I work in a very collaborative effort with others. For example, just last week with Greg Johnson, one of my clients has 6 properties as well, and they do not have an LLC or so forth. So I had an introductory call with Greg, and he shared his expertise. I've been dealing with him for a little while, and then he's going to work with them on setting things up for the long term. But here as a CPA, I come and identify what their needs are, and where I see expertise, the collaboration, I work with them. In another situation, 2 years ago, I did a presentation a month after the tax law into effect. It's a combination with the church and the community. And fortunately, over 1,000 people attended, either live, Facebook, or live stream. One person who attended, she had an optometry business. She told her husband about me, who was also an optometrist. I met with the both of them, and we're very much like-minded African American, and see the needs. Over the 2 years, I helped them set up their accounting as well as the taxes. And just about 6 months before the pandemic, they went for a loan. And again, they had some challenges as well as African Americans. Although they were highly qualified, I had to send 5 different letters over different times to say, yes, things are still in sync. But they didn't wait till that to start. They had the solid foundation. I work with them on establishing that, and they were prepared, because we will face extra challenges more than others. So the best thing is to be as prepared as possible, but ensure you get the proper advice as well.
That's right. So I heard the word collaboration happen. You collaborated with Gregory. You know, one of the things I know in, especially in the Black business owner, Caribbean business owner community, sometimes we're not so good about collaborating. And there is value in collaborating. You know, some people don't want, you know, they think that maybe someone's going to steal something from them, some information or a client. But there is something to partnering and collaborating for the greater good of multiple businesses, right? You know, I definitely try to refer business out to people that I know. I try my best to do that. If I could partner with someone, I do that. But for some people, they hesitate. Esther, in your experience, how have you vetted opportunities to collaborate with other entities?
So I shared with everyone that I started, you know, 21 years ago, and if it wasn't for some of the friendships who own businesses, I don't think I would have been able to take off, because in the beginning it's super hard to build a business, right? It's not like every customer is coming to you. And I was in the basement of my mother's home, and no one wanted to go to no basement. I mean, it was nice, but they didn't want to go to a basement. So that's why a year later I opened the storefront. But the point is, it was my friends who were attorneys who still send me business till today. 3 realtors that were good friends of mine who send me clients. I have an accountant that also sends me customers. I have a lot of bank people who do supportive. Actually, I have 4 different banks who send us clients. And it was that support, that trust. And listen, Shakira, you have to vet who you're going to partner up with.
Absolutely.
You have to make sure that they're at your same caliber, that they have the knowledge, that they have the professionalism, that they're going to follow through, because it costs money to get a client, you know, from either marketing, visiting them multiple times to get them to trust you. And then after you close that deal, your staff, your employees, everything that it took to get there. In my industry is about $300 just in the beginning, just to try to get the account. So when you find that trusted person that you feel that has the knowledge and has the professionalism that's going to follow through and it's going to take care of your client the way you are taking care of them, I say go for it. Because if it wasn't for that, I would not have been in business. I would have not made it. I mean, I started my business with $10, my friends. We don't have time for that story. It was $10.
$10.
If it wasn't for mom and dad who let me, I lived in North Edison in a beautiful home, but somehow in my head I said I have to go. My mom is a minister in Newark, so I said I want to go to Newark and open my office because there was 300,000 people and 60% owned automobiles, and so I thought, well, I'll sell auto insurance and support my family. Well, it didn't work out like that.
Yeah.
It took a long time before that happened, but
Yeah.
it was the partnering up of all the local business owners who were friends, who trusted me and I trusted them, and that back and forth saved me and propelled me. And now I'm still in business because I still have those relationships. So yes, partner up, my friend. Find that trusted person, for sure.
Does anybody else have any other stories? Canadian, do you have any good advice about partnering?
Right, and I was just going to say, because we're in the middle of the pandemic, you have to be creative about partnering. So again, starting with where we are today, we're at a panel. There are a number of panels that churches, organizations are putting on in the community. Those individuals that are presenting, connect with them. So I'm looking forward to reaching out to each of you, scheduling some time to talk, but Zoom, Google Meets, there's so many venues that you can interact face-to-face or by phone, but you can't stop now just because things aren't traditional, grab a coffee, grab lunch. And I would say it's even more important now because who knows if we'll be able to quickly transition to our traditional ways of building relationships. So it's very important. I talk to clients, you have to get out there, go to those conferences, look at the list of participants, LinkedIn, the list, people that you find provide important feedback or knowledgeable about a specific area that you want to learn more about. Make sure you're reaching out to them, and you don't have time to be shy in this
there
space.
is no time to be shy. And I could tell you as a professional speaker, my entire schedule of speaking gigs across the country fell off my calendar around mid-March, and I quickly pivoted to putting a video together, I mentioned it earlier, and sending it to education managers of associations and meeting planners around the country, offering them to do free webinars. Okay. I offered to do 10 by May 31st or something like that. And I immediately got some people raise their hands. Some of the people who raised their hand had actually denied my proposal a year ago. And now and then they said, yes, we'd like your free webinar. And by the way, one of them who said yes, that offered the free webinar, 3 days later, when after we agreed on the freebie, I got a call that said, hey, we had a guy, we was going to do a webinar, we were going to pay him $500. Will you do it for $500? I was like, from free to $500, I'll take it. That came. And again, this is an organization that had declined my proposal for their conference a year ago. Now they're talking about booking me for the conference for next year. And by the way, that same webinar I ended up doing, a participant referred me out to a federal agency. I am now doing a paid gig from someone who attended that one that was supposed to be for free. I'm doing a paid virtual gig in December from, and it's really the highest I've ever been paid for a speaking engagement. All because I focused on being of service during a time when people need it. So you have to focus on being of service. And when you do that, the partnerships happen. Focus on providing service. So that's a message for everybody during this time, because it's definitely a challenging time. But if you focus on service, you're going to open up opportunities right away for yourself. I do have a question that came in that I want to get to from someone who's starting a wedding business. And she's going to be taking existing wedding veils, so heirloom sort of wedding veils, and updating them for people. And this person has a question on whether or not there's a type of insurance that this person would need to have as they're making they're taking these precious veils that someone else, their mom or a grandma, whoever wore, and she's going to be working on them, does she need a special type of insurance to protect her if someone says that, oh my God, you ruined our heirloom veil?
Yeah,
Esther?
definitely she needs liability insurance for sure. It's the big-
Liability insurance. Okay, we've got liability insurance. And then there's another question in here. Is there, this is a legal question, maybe Robert or Gregory can answer it. She wants to know, does she need a special license to be able to do this? It looks like she's actually just handcrafting veils. Does anybody have any insights at that? You don't have to. If you don't, you can just say you don't know. Does she need a license to do this type? Just think of her as a seamstress almost, I guess. Would she need a license for that in New Jersey? I don't know. I don't know that she does.
Right. It really depends on the municipality. Is she operating the business out of her home, or is this going to be?
It's definitely a home-based business. It's home-based business.
Right. I know some municipalities do have a requirement that if you have a home-based business, you have to register it. I know that Lawrence Township does have that, where you register it, and they send you a certificate or something like that. But unless she is, as long as she's using her individual type of skill in creating stuff, and it's not copyright or stuff that she's getting off of the internet, she should be fine. But I would look at it from that standpoint.
Okay, so we have a couple of minutes left. We might go over just slightly. Let's talk about business entity, and I think Robert and Gregory can talk about business entities a little bit. Some of the things that come up, and anybody else who wants to chime in before we go on this topic, please just raise your hand. A lot of the folks that come to our center at the College of New Jersey, they don't know how they should register their business. Are they going to be a LLC? Is it a corporate? Should I be a corporation? One of the things I tell them to do is to talk to their accountant. Because I know that there's some things that have, yeah. Well, because I know that there's a big deal with taxes and all that. Is there any sort of high level advice, Robert, that you can give about that? And then I'll go to Gregory on selecting what type of business entity that you should register as.
Well, as you suggested, I would recommend speaking to a professional as well, because it all depends on
why specific, because that will help them. Why?
Yeah, it all depends on your goals and so forth. For example, there's a single member LLC versus an S corp. With an S corp, depending on how much you make, one advantage is payroll taxes. So you have some savings as to what you pay on payroll taxes, and that I could go over with as well, but it depends. There's the difference between a C corp and an S corp or partnership. A C corp, if you plan to grow your business and not have to take funds out, then that provides the best way of growing it. Because if you take the funds out, like many small businesses do, then you have double taxation with a C corp. You have to pay taxes at the corporate level, and then as you take out dividends, you pay taxes again. So there are various criteria. So you have to sit down with the person, see what their goals are, short term, midterm, and long term. And I'll describe each entity: single member LLC, partnership, S corp, C corp, the pros and the cons, and then make the determination accordingly as well.
Gregory, I know, LLC, we know legal, was it limited liability company? A lot of people like that's the most popular. Is there any parameters people should consider when choosing a business designation to register?
Sure. I always tell my clients to keep it simple. If they are considering a corporation, I tell them what's required of a corporate type of organization. Number one, you have to have a board of directors. You have to have bylaws. You have to have all of these legal requirements if you want to form a corporation. And contrast that with an LLC, a limited liability. First of all, single member LLC, right? You don't need an operating agreement, right? Basically, it's your certificate of formation. It's your IRS or EIN number, and you're making all the decisions. If you have more than one member of the LLC who is going to be a part of the ownership group, the decision makers, you need an operating agreement. You need to indicate who is bringing money into this business and
Right.
how you're going to pay your taxes, right? And who's going to be making the decisions, right? And also, I always tell clients that if you're just starting out, do an LLC. You can always grow that business to whereby you may be up to the level where you need to be working with Robert in terms of having millions of dollars come in. But if you are starting out, choose the LLC, because at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, right, Robert, you can do that Schedule C where you
Yep.
can report that income, so forth. And then, some LLCs don't have any employees. They have what you call 1099 independent contractors. Grow your business that way, But, for sure, I try to tell them, keep it simple so that you don't have to incur these obligations associated with the corporate status of that. And in addition, and some of my clients come in, they say, well, I want to incorporate in Delaware. And then I tell them how much in taxes they have to pay annually. And they say, oh, yeah, Greg, I'm glad you told me that. I'm going to form the LLC here in New Jersey because that's the law.
Yeah.
Let me just add. Let me just add too. I work with clients at all different levels as well, those just starting out and so forth as well. But going back to the collaboration question as well, just wanted, again, referrals are a great source of building business. That's one area.
Yes.
And we have a network of different type of professionals within the network as well. Just want to share a quick example. So going back to the optometrist, they had 2 centers in 2 Costco's, and they were looking to expand. I brought in one of my clients who does strategic planning and so forth to meet with them as well. So they came in as the CPA was there as well, short-term, mid-term, long-term, in a collaborative effort. And then the client was able to expand to a 3rd, and they're looking to have their own retail as well. But it's really building that foundation and working together as a team going forward as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap up, but what I'm going to do is the gentleman just spoke for a few minutes. I'm going to go to the ladies. You could go back to the LLC or the corporation question, or you could say anything you want as a last piece of advice. I'll start with Kanita.
So wanted to, just writing some notes, I think this time gives us time, right? So I think educating yourself about professionals you're working with is even important. Podcasts, going to free webinars, free podcasts even, watching YouTube videos of different professionals that have shared tidbits of their expertise is important, because small business owners now and entrepreneurs now, you still have to be knowledgeable about some parts of your business, even though you're hiring a professional. I'm an advocate of educating and being a life learner. And I believe that when you're teaching your children, the next generation, the legacy, or your nieces and nephews about starting a business, building a business, it's important to know a little bit of everything and then hire the professional to take you to the next level. So I encourage a lot of business owners and just families to start listening to podcasts, webinars, workshops on topics that you're interested in learning more about. And in the financial services, fiduciary, people that are acting in your best interest is so important. So a CFP, all the letters behind my name, they're fiduciary, fiduciary, fiduciary. It's important that I recognize that there have been dishonest people in my industry. So I wanted to take that first step and saying, hey, I'm here to work in your best interest, and I'm obligated to. And I think that often is missed because we trust because people are trusting us. But it's also important to be mindful of what are the credentials, what's the history, what's the background of the person that I'm hiring to help build and really help me build my business and move it to the next level. So great resource.
Sorry. I
thought you were going to say this is a great resource. And again, signing up for the SBDC alerts, you guys have things weekly, and it's just a great source of information. So if you're not accessing free information, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So being able to help with the financial piece, I'm here, of course, the resources available, but make sure you're working with someone who's knowledgeable, credible, and has a reputation of doing so.
Esther, you can close it out, your comments any way you want.
Okay. There's a few things. first, when you're starting a business, understand that your attorney and your accountant and your banker and your marketing person, they are your team. So being honest and transparent is crucial. Partnering up with others that are going to bring in. So when I network, I don't only network to build rapport and relationships where I can refer back and forth, but also I want to meet experts that I can refer my clients to. So go for that as well. I fish for those qualified people. When you're building a relationship with an insurance agent, and if they only ask you questions about what do you need, what's your name, what do you, and they don't want to know what's your vision and what you're doing, you might want to find another agent that is going to be there through that process, because we may start small, but our vision is to grow. So therefore, we need to have, what are the plans? What is the right company that can grow with you? Otherwise, you're going to have to cancel the policy, start all over again, and that's lost money. So building a relationship with an agent that knows your journey, your vision, even if you're not there yet, it's okay. Baby steps. We start small and then we grow, but be with that agent that can grow with you. The other thing is never close out old relationships. So for example, maybe things didn't go too smooth. You had a client and it didn't go well, or they felt that you didn't meet their needs anymore, but now you've evolved. Reach out to them. I reach out. 30% of my clients come from old accounts. I don't let go. I am persistent. I'm like a pit bull. You're not leaving me. Listen. So, during the pandemic, we lost some accounts. We did. Some people, a lot of husbands passed away, and a lot of wives needed support. Some wives said, I'm going to give out. I can't do it. And we lost those accounts. And I always say, I thank you for the time that you gave me your trust. I'm here for you anytime. I will be sending you every so often something, in case things change, in case you want to give me an opportunity again. And believe me, 30% of my clients that cancel come back. That's a number. Because you already had a relationship, it is easier to reconnect, especially if it wasn't something awful. Maybe your prices were not within the realm, whatever it was. Anyway, don't let go of your old relationships. Be structured, from your finance to having a good attorney, to know where you're going in the future, making sure that you have systems in place in your business so that things are trackable and you can measure. If something's not working out, you can remove a department completely. And we'll talk about that maybe another time. But build a relationship with whoever you're going to be with, and make sure they answer questions and they look at you straight in your eyes. When someone starts to fumble and not give you accurate information, or start telling you how to cut corners, run, because that person is not going to be there when you need them. Anyway, it was great being here. Love everyone here. I can't wait to connect with you all, and I hope this was of benefit to you.
All right, so while everybody was talking, we've got some other questions. So
go ahead, keep it
but
coming.
I'm going to give it to Gregory. He can close it out with the answer to this question and another little tidbit if he wants to. I have a person who's asked, how difficult is it to go from an S Corp to an LLC?
Oh.
Okay. Well, actually, that is a question that I respond to as a part of a team, because as Robert will tell you, my legal advice is always to consult with the best, minds from the standpoint that forming an LLC is easy. Winding down a S Corp is something that I like to work in conjunction with the accountant, because at some point they're going to have to file a final tax return, and they're going to have to declare income or losses in terms of that. But generally speaking, I had a client in a similar situation, and I was able to work with an accounting firm. And I said, listen, here's what the client wants to do. What are the issues that you see with them closing out the F Corp? So you got to sort of wind it down. It was created in a business department of a state. You need to close it out that way. So I was able to consult with the accountant. He said, yes, I know what's going on with this client. Here is what they should do. And based upon that, I got the proper forms, and the client agreed to work with the accountant to file the last tax return and so forth. But that's how I generally handle it, as a team type of approach, where the attorney is one of the advisors, not the only advisor to a client in a situation like this.
Okay, thanks for that. Is there anything else you wanted to add to close things out? Did you have final comments?
Well, for me, I would certainly entertain the opportunity to talk to anyone who is starting out with their company and they need some legal advice. You can always reach out to me and talk. I don't charge for consultations, especially
nice.
Zoom.
That's
especially
really nice,
Zoom
Gregory,
meetings.
seriously.
Yeah, I don't charge for that. So take advantage of free stuff. That's my advice.
And Robert, any final words? Any way you want to close this out with some advice for the individuals on things that you didn't get a chance to say that would be good for them to know for their business?
Sure. I'd say, again, in this environment, we see the disparities and the impact it has. So you want to be cautious as to staying in a fragmented approach versus going from A to B in a focused, resilient manner. Fragmented approach, some issues, there are systematic injustices, including limited access to capital, and we could go on the whole list as well. So you want to be aware of these obstacles that are out there and bring in the proper advisors, counselors, partners, take advantage of small business development. You want to learn as much as you can. Knowledge is power. And then once you have the knowledge, you lay that foundation, you're in a much better position to address the obstacles, but to pursue your opportunities very aggressively, assertively as well. So all the best with that, and thank you for the opportunity today. And let me just leave, in addition to my number there, you can visit my site, cpaadvicenow.com, cpaadvicenow.com. Thank you.
That's great. And I will add from a marketing perspective that everybody should be focusing in on their digital footprint, looking at your website, making sure that information there is relevant for these times. I'm finding that those who had offices haven't really updated contact information for phone numbers and things like that, and people are going in circles. This has happened to me. I've called places and no one answers. They haven't figured out a way for someone to answer the main line remotely. These are all things you need to be looking at. Unfortunately, I think we're in this thing for at least another 6 to 8 months. I'm hoping not severely, but you need to make sure that you have some systems in place to be as efficient as possible, so you could serve your customers and clients the same way you would if you could do so in an environment where you would see them in person. But please make sure you're focused in on that. We're using Zoom and things like GoToWebinar, which you're using today. Make sure you create a space where you can do these presentations that has good lighting, that's well appointed, so that you present yourself in the best way. That's a very important aspect of running a business today. Who would have thought that was important? But now it is, because if you have to have a virtual meeting, you should present yourself in the best light, literally, as possible, as you would if you were to meet them out at a restaurant at your office. So just be sure that you're looking at your digital footprint, your digital brand, and you're refining it, and you're making sure that you're presenting yourself in the best way. So everybody's information is on the screen. Take a screenshot now if you haven't done so already. This presentation will be sent to everyone as a replay automatically. And I thank everybody, and I'm going to turn it back over to Lilian. Lilian, if you unmute, you can join us again. And then we can go on from here and we can close it out. And I want to thank our panel. You guys have been awesome. And we appreciate all of the time, because we know that you're busy, and the information you provided is invaluable to our audience. And thank you so much. Lilian, you're up next. You can turn your camera on too if you want.
So, okay. Thank you, everyone. This has been a great presentation. Thank you to all our panelists. We have received great insights to all business owners. And as Greg mentioned, reorganization and assess your business operations is also a key. It's very important to know what to do next over the next few months. We also hear about how important is focus on social media, using all the tools available. Most of them, the majority are for free. If you have to use podcasts, blogs, use all the Facebook page. You can also you can showcase your product or services. It's very important to have that visibility. Also, the collaboration. I hear so much about collaboration, which is very important. Do not be afraid to share what you know. It's very. Some people think that there's gonna be a competition for you, but that is not the point. What you want to do is you want to build this relationship that they can transfer later on into being a potential client, or they can also refer clients to you. Thank you to all our panelists. This has been a very, very helpful session, and we would like to also invite you to our next event that is going to be on September 1st. We are having Microsoft Office Excel skills. We're going to talk about calculation across worksheets and workbooks grouping. This is part 3 of 6 Microsoft Excel training series. So please stay tuned for, hope you sign up. Also, we have a next, Shakira Brown is also coming next on September 3rd about branding your small business in a COVID-19 world. Please, it is also a free event. I hope everybody will attend this event. Thank you so much again. Thank you, our panelists. Has been great. And thank you, Shakira, also for putting all this event together.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day and see you at the next event.